I always feel weird talking at a podium. I have like flashbacks from my bar mitzvah. This is way better than my bar mitzvah though. You know how many girls showed up to my bar mitzvah? One. And we did not hook up. That's what prepared me to become a man. Foreshadowing the rest of the next 18 years. Happy to be here at Booked in Burbank. I'm glad you guys could make it out. I usually don't read the news, but I did for tonight. I read all kinds of exciting book news to see what kind of jokes I can make about that. So feel free to laugh if you think it's funny. If it's not funny, you can fake laugh. That's what you do. Just want you to be honest with your reaction. But thanks again to Liz and all the authors here. You guys, I'm always blown away. I've done this a bunch of times, and you have like an actual talent, and that's something that I'm chasing. So one day I hope to be in your seats, maybe up here reading a book. But let me go over a little bit about what's going on in the news, in the book news. So Kobo, an electronics manufacturer, has released an e-reader that works even after getting wet. In other words, it's 50 Shades of Grey proof. I wouldn't know anything about that. A popular literary website has collected some of the worst typos in history, which includes, "Thou shalt commit adultery." That typo was found in the 10 Commandments on Bill Clinton's nightstand. He's a cheater. Also, "Thou shalt honor thy wife's pantsuit." That was the other one. So what else? This fall, a floating pop-up library is opening on New York's Hudson River, or as hobos are calling it, a cruise ship. Kind of mean. BJ Novak, an actor from The Office, sees his children's book as a gateway drug to literature, while children see his children's book as a coaster for their Xbox. Best-selling novelist Nick Hornby has argued that readers should immediately put down difficult books if they aren't enjoying them. No shit, said college students. Well, maybe that was just my college. Kim Kardashian has plans to publish a book of selfies. The book's working title is Instagram. An 86-year-old great-great-grandmother has published her first romance novel. It's the story of a woman who falls in love with a box of hard candies. No one's safe tonight, guys. Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin is lending his influence to a New Mexico senator running for re-election, which means instead of being attacked with ads, opponents will be attacked with dragons. I've never seen Game of Thrones. Amtrak has selected 24 writers out of 16,000 applicants to ride a long-distance train and write, while the remaining applicants have been selected to continue loitering inside Starbucks. I know that one. Well, 37-year-old man has broken the Guinness World Record for Harry Potter memorabilia with a collection of over 3,000 items. The man's home has been dubbed the Mecca of Virginity. Book It, a reading program that rewards kids with free Pizza Hut, has expanded to include adults. Also expanding to include adults, sweatpants. For his death, writer Elmore Leonard chose to have his crime novel archives housed in South Carolina instead of Detroit. But Detroit is still considered the best place for housing actual crime. Former President George W. Bush plans to publish a biography of his father, former President George H.W. Bush. Historians expect it to be the first presidential biography written in crayon. It's not so great. Last one, Simon & Schuster is releasing a new book that's collected every Bob Dylan lyric ever recorded. And they say eventually they'll offer a version that's been translated into English. That's what's happening in book news, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Kind of exciting stuff. I figure I should talk about a few other things while I'm up here. I did read this news story of a 9-year-old Chinese kid. He tried feeding a bear at the zoo, and the bear bit his arm off. Yeah. Let me say that again. He tried feeding the bear. If you ask the bear, I don't think the bear would say he tried feeding me. I think he'd say he fed me more than he thought. That's tough though, you know, like it's hard to do anything with one arm. Like, imagine how difficult it would be using your phone with one arm. Then imagine how much more difficult it would be making that phone with one arm. You guys are the one that buy the phone. No, I don't use a phone. I talked a little bit about my childhood earlier. Being a kid was great. I think being a kid was great. At least for me, being a kid was great. Because when I was a kid, my parents were like, Jordan, when you grow up, you can do anything you want to do, which sounded awesome. And now it's like 30-something years later, and I don't really have a career. And it's more like, Jordan, you can do anything the temp agency tells you to do 2 weeks at a time. I think my parents should have cut to the chase and been like, Jordan, when you grow up, you can do data entry. Here's an Excel spreadsheet, buddy. No baseball for you. I drove up here from Santa Monica, which is always fun. But Santa Monica is a weird place. Recently, they had a vegan Oktoberfest in Santa Monica, which is a great event if you like being preached to while you're drunk. It's not me. I don't really like vegans so much. I don't know if any of you guys are vegans, but the thing about vegans is, like, for me, I don't think they like saving animals as much as just like being difficult. Whoever tried to eat with a vegan, it's impossible. I don't know. They're not like so much against animal suffering as they are for the suffering of the person trying to eat with them. It's terrible. Like if you're a vegan and you want animal suffering to go away, just kill yourself and all goes away. Just all disappears. The only people worse than vegans are, because like vegans, they're basically obsessed with not eating certain kinds of food. The only people worse than that are people that are obsessed with eating like everything to the point where like they take a picture of it. Like I swear, before 2008, not a single picture of cheesecake. Now my Facebook feed is nothing but pictures of cheesecake. It's crazy. It's like, you know, anyone who takes a picture of their burger, it's like documenting the crime for the vegan in my Facebook feed. Like that's a slap in the face. What else can I talk about? I had that moment happen where I'm talking to a pretty lady, and my eyes like glanced down for a second, you know, to like this region, and she caught me, and she did the, excuse me, but my eyes are up here. And I was kind of embarrassed, but I had to reply, so I was like, sorry, but the things that kept me alive for the first 6 months of my life are down there. That's why. Like, if my mom fed me ice cream from an ice cream truck for 6 months of my life, like, I would be obsessed anytime an ice cream truck was But it's always easy to tell, like, the guys that weren't breastfed, because those guys, great eye contact. Like, those guys are nailing job interviews. I think I figured out life. It's pretty simple and not very controversial. I think the best feeling in the world is when you orgasm at the exact same time as your partner. probably be a good thing. I don't know about that from personal experience, but I've heard all about it from my neighbors. I think that's the best feeling in the world. I think the worst feeling in the world is when you orgasm at the exact same time as your neighbors. And you're by yourself. Obamacare is in full swing. That's exciting, right? Everybody's fully insured. Everybody's insured up. I didn't really know what to make of Obamacare when I first heard about it. Listened to Obama talk about Obamacare. He made it sound like a great thing because when he talked about it, he was like, Obamacare is going to be great because it'll be just like getting your cell phone. That sounded awesome. I called my parents. I was like, hey, you guys are getting my Obamacare. Right. I'm 32 and I'm still on my parents' cell phone plan. And my dad was 32. You know what plan he was on? Starting an actual family plan. That's what he's doing. So that's all I got for tonight, but you guys have been awesome. Thanks for laughing or quick laughing.